G'day and welcome to the Hunting Connection podcast. My name is Zach Williams and I am your host. Here we'll connect you with hunters, fishers and outdoor enthusiasts from around the globe. This podcast will share hunting and fishing stories including past experiences and tackle the tough hunting stereotypes our community faces. We hope to be a positive influence to those outside the community while also having a laugh along the way. Hope you enjoy the podcast. G'day and welcome to another episode of Hunting Connection podcast. On this episode, I am joined by Ben Hohnke from Hohnke Outdoors. How you going?
Good, Zach. How you going, mate?
It's good. Yeah, good, mate. Good. Very excited. Like I said to you before we started recording, you've been on my list for quite a while now, since I first discovered the little mushroom cue card, well, not cue cards, ID cards that you made for your kids and you put out for sale. I thought they were absolutely awesome, and yeah, been wanting to get you on since then.
Yeah, no, thanks. It's a good opportunity to be on here. Yeah, those mushroom cards were sort of like a collaborative effort between my wife and myself. So basically, we found like these I'll just back up a bit. So we homeschool our kids, and Sarah was looking for like these outdoor educational things, and she found some really cool ones, but they were always specific to, say, Northern Hemisphere species. So it's like, we're never going to go out and find, you know, a birch tree just naturally in a forest. Like, yeah, you might find one planted in a garden or somewhere around town, but for the most part, it was all species that aren't present in Australia. So we sort of had this harebrained idea, like, hey, let's make a set that is species that we'll find in the pine forest near home. We just sort of went from there, and then I just gathered some information together, drew a bit of a mud map on rough locations where you find them, and then Sarah like drew the illustrations herself with like on a tablet electronically, and then we got them printed on some waterproof paper because our kids were really young at the time. Like, there's no way these things aren't going for a drink in a puddle when we're out in the forest. And just what we did, because they're so good. Like, the kids put them around their neck when we're out and about. They find mushrooms, compare them to the cards, throw them in the bucket. They're like a really good educational tool. It's obviously probably not the most definitive thing because it's not proper pictures and it's more a general thing, but it's definitely a good place to start, like a foundational level, before you grow in your foraging experience from there.
Yeah, it's all pretty like simple species, easy to recognize stuff from what my memory. I haven't looked at them for a while. I've been meaning to get myself some for my youngest. He would absolutely love it for when mushroom season comes around here. But yeah, I'll just have to put in an order for some and a book that we'll jump into a bit later. But yeah, very exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll dive into how you got into hunting, foraging, fishing, and the outdoors, because you're all over it. I absolutely love your page. Like I said, I reckon I found, maybe it was on TikTok, I reckon it's popped up. You guys first popped up, or Instagram Reels or something. That's when I first seen you about 2-3 years ago, whenever you put them out. And yeah, so how'd you get into all of it?
Yeah, so basically I grew up a little town called Werris Creek. It's about half an hour south of Tamworth in New South Wales. And I think I spent probably at least every second weekend either out fishing or in a forest, like getting firewood or, you know, just various other stuff. Like, we were always outside. Even like at home, we'd like go in the backyard and we'd make like bow and arrows out of like old bits of timber and put rubber bands on them and grab some of Dad's old archery gear out of the shed and, you know, practice at different targets and stuff with that. And then probably spent every school holidays like at the coast or fishing somewhere else. So yeah, you know, I got a wide experience in things like beach fishing and trout fishing for like golden perch, silver perch, catfish, carp from a very young age right through. In high school, we moved like when I finished primary school, we moved to like 100 acres of like sort of hobby farm, probably like close to an hour out of Tamworth. And it was like in like real rocky country. There's not like you wouldn't farm it. There's nothing to farm other than rocks and pine, like cypress pine trees sort of thing. But obviously with that, there was goats on the property and goats on the neighbouring properties and a few pigs and the occasional rabbit, that type of thing. And so that really piqued my interest. And I was like, just like desperately trying to, as a like probably 12-year-old, maybe try and get strong enough to pull back like a 35, 45 pound bow with like no experience at all. And I remember I used to have like, I think it's called like a bulwark thing. It was like this like thing to like strengthen your arms up. Like they're like two cables and you pull them and this thing like compresses down. And I think I used to use that every afternoon until I could like finally pull back a bow. And I still remember being able to pull back the bow for the first time. And it was like one of Dad's old compound bows. And I remember like, you know, hitting that let off and just like, I'll never forget that feeling. Hey, like when that, like I finally got it drawn back, it probably looked awful. I'm sure my form was like explode discs in your back. Like it would have been dreadful, but I still remember getting that back and then just being absolutely hooked on it. And then I used to just invite friends around like pretty much every weekend and and then I don't even know how we survived. Hey, we used to just like, sometimes we didn't even pack a drink bottle and we'd be gone like all day, or you pack like one 500ml drink bottle and just put it in your pocket, no food, nothing, and like wander off into the hills. And it was so going in blind for a lot of it. But yeah, then ended up like getting my first goats probably within a year of getting into it, I suppose. And then that was probably where I kicked off my writing journey, actually, because I remember like in school, like in English, they're like, oh, we want you to do a 500-word story on something. And you're like, well, I just went for a hunt and it's all I can really think about. So I'm just going to write about that. I'll get my English teacher to mark it up, edit it, and then I'm going to submit it to Bow Hunting Down Under magazine and get it published, you know. So it was sort of a good use of school time, I think. And yes, that was where I first got my first bits of writing published in
That's
like
awesome.
Bow Hunting Down Under. And yeah, and then I always sort of thought like, yeah, it'd be really cool to write a book one day. And then obviously that's eventuated now, but it's been a long journey from there. And yeah, I think sort of, and then yeah, we got like really into bow hunting. I ended up, obviously you go through heaps of different bows and you buy like a cheap crap one that's not quite right, and then you eventually get a better one that's more right, and then you go, this is all a bit much, and so then you go buy a recurve. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to things like that, and like just trying to really simplify it. And yeah, I remember like saving up and buying a like takedown 45-pound recurve, and the first hunt I went on with it, we like come across this mob of goats, and I remember like I come over this little rise, and there was this like mob of goats like getting ready to like bail, and they're about 30 meters like steep downhill, but I was like, I've got this shot, I've got it. And I remember shooting, and I saw the arrow like just completely punch through past the fletchers, everything disappear. I was like, yes, that felt great. And my mate Tim was with me, and we're sitting down, like you give them time, just wait like 20 minutes before we go follow them up. And then when we get up, Tim starts to walk right and I'm walking left. And I go, what are you doing, Tim? He's like, I saw it go down over here. I'm like, no, I saw it go down over here. And he's like, no, I saw it, the ginger one. It went down over here. I'm like, I didn't shoot a ginger one. I shot a white one, and it went down over here. And then walking up, and I realised what had happened. It's like the arrow had punched completely through the first one, and the arrow was hanging out by just the nock on the other side of the other one. And it's like, it's pretty impressive for like a little 45-pound recurve, like a rib tech broadhead on it, Port Orford cedar shaft, turkey feathers. You know, it's like the closest to a modern trad setup as you could get, I suppose. But yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then I guess from there, then eventually got more back in the compound side of it. And then, yeah, we'd go out hunting, And then I remember one weekend we got access to this place up the Hunter Valley towards the Barrington Tops, and it was the guy was like, "Yeah, I've got pigs everywhere." And we're like, "Yeah, sweet." And he's like, "Yeah, it's right on the river too. So pack a fishing rod, you might go for a fish and whatnot." And he said there was some bass and some yellow belly in there, and we got pretty excited about that. And um, I remember we got out there and we arrived sort of midday. It was pretty hot, and like Tim's mum just sort of dropped us off, and then she's like, "I'll come back and sort of pick his up tomorrow lunchtime," sort of thing. Like just left us there for 24 hours, which is pretty cool. And I remember it was so hot when we arrived, and I thought, you know what, let's not walk around in like the 40-degree heat. Let's go sit in the cool shade of the willow trees, like down by the river for a bit and see what fish are around. And I remember my mate Tim had a spinnerbait on, and he cast out. He goes, "Oh, I had a hit." And he was pretty young at the time. I'm like, guys. And I looked out where he was casting. I could see a rock ledge like out in the water. I'm like, he's for sure just hitting that rock ledge and imagining he's getting these hits. And he's cast again. He's like, "Oh, another hit." I'm like, there's no way. And in the meantime, I'm like dealing with a knot that's somehow in my line. So I'm not even like in the water yet. And he casts out again. And he's like, "I'm on." And I look over and yeah, fair enough, he's on. He's like, this bass had just been hitting him right before it had come up over the rock ledge all these times. And I was like, oh, that's nuts. And then I get my spinnerbait on and I cast it straight on this willow tree. I'm on instantly. And I think like I really got the fishing bug bad from that day. I think I was about 16. I remember I don't even think we hunted that whole weekend. Like we just were fishing for bass the whole time, and we were catching bass the whole time. It was so much fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And obviously, yeah. And then it was a matter of, I think not long after that, I started to get like really interested in trout fishing, and with my friend Tim and my mate Jason, I think we used to hit like these dams near Tamworth all the time, Sheba dams that just get stocked with they get stocked with broodstock trout now, which are like your big ex-hatchery type deals. There's a lot of them look pretty deformed, like they're all got the signs of sickness of living in a tank their whole life sort of thing. But it's sort of a pretty sad, sorry sight. Once you've caught some like proper big wild trout, you sort of look down your nose at them a bit because you're like, oh, these things are like, they've had a hard life and then they're out here and just getting caught by, hack anglers all the time. But yeah, and then got really into that. That led to getting into fly fishing. And then, it was just a mix of when it was hot, we were on a river, we were fishing, we were at the dams, we were catching bass, we were catching trout, little stuff like that. When it was cold, like autumn through to early spring, we were up in the mountains. We were shooting pigs, we were shooting goats, rabbits, hares, foxes, deer, whatever we could get our hands on. Yeah.
Yeah, it all goes hand in hand. Like when I meet guys that are just like hunting only, I'm just like, they're like, I'm not interested in fishing. It's like, how can you not? It's the exact same thing, but
Yeah.
it's just another aspect of it. And then same with like the foraging side, which we'll touch on in a bit. It's the exact same thing. It's just another aspect. And then when, like you said, you get a property where you can go fishing as well as hunting, it all just comes together so well. Like we just did a trip with one of my mates who's a reasonably new hunter. I took him out spotlighting a couple times. He spent the last year getting his license, and then this year he got his first firearm and he shot his first deer, and we've got him on to some other species as well, like foxes, rabbits, hares, and he'd never really been fishing before. So we stopped into a hatchery in Victoria while we're out sambar hunting, and he just missed his first sambar stag. So he was beating himself up over that, and we'd gone to this pay to, keep a couple of trout and salmon, and we go on there and got the big bamboo pole, and we spent like 45 minutes trying to get our first fish at this place because like the pellets that you were putting on the hook were just breaking up as soon as they hit the water. So there was three of us, and we've all teamwork with one pole and working how to place the bait out there without it falling off, and we were having a hell of a time. We ended up getting 6 fish, and we took them back to camp and cooked them up. But yeah, he had the best time. Like the smile on his face is like, I've caught a couple of small Tommy Ruffs and, a couple of small garfish. He's never caught a trout. He got a 30, 40 centimeter trout, and he was over the moon. And then we got him, a 60 centimeter salmon, and he just thought it was the best thing ever. But, he probably lost 6 salmon before he got the first one in, and we were just piercing ourselves laughing the whole time. And then, just being able to take that back to camp, especially after he just missed a deer as well. So go from like one of the lowest lows to a pretty reasonable high because you'd never caught those fish before. And then going back to camp and cooking them up for lunch in some butter. And, I think the shop sold some like truffle salt. So we got some truffle salt and sprinkled that, butter, thyme, lemon. And it was just broke up that morning really, really well.
Yeah.
And just a hell of a time. Like we were laughing so hard, like because I think I'm a pretty good fisherman. I've been fishing all my life. Longer than I've been hunting, and I was struggling to catch them.
Same.
I'm like, how am I not catching these fish? But once I worked out how to do it, then we all caught a couple. But yeah, it was just a hell of a time. And then people rocking up with spinners, and they're casting out lures in there, and bam, fish straight away. But that bamboo cane with a single hook on it was just insanely fun. Like
yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Is it just like the line that's tied onto it, or have you got like a bit of a reel?
No, it's just it's probably a 12-foot pole, 12-foot pole, and just a probably 12-foot line and a hook, and you put the burley pellet on, and you kind of just flick the line
just
out,
hang it out,
and then you just yank the fish in. Like it.
Yeah.
I remember watching Flintstones as a kid, and the cartoons. That's how they did it. They're just a bamboo pole, and they're pulling in fish, and that's exactly what it was like. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, sounds a lot like tenkara, like the traditional like Japanese fly fishing. Like we're talking like medieval period, like pre-Edo period Japan, and like that single long bit of bamboo and just a fixed length string on it and a little fly or a little bait off the end of that, and then just hanging over a little trout stream type thing. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Oh, I've been looking at every bamboo patch I drive past for a decent thickness size piece of bamboo, so I can go cut it down and then hit up my local carp fishing spot and go try and catch a carp doing that.
It's funny you say that because like the spot I'm in at the moment, like down here, and we're down at the Central Coast at the moment while I'm working on this job, and there's like a massive stand of bamboo beside the house, and I've cut one down, like lobbed all the little branches off it, and I've got it sort of sitting like next to the carport between these pipes to hopefully like let it naturally like set out a bit straighter. And then my plan for that is like hook some line up to it, walk down to the little jetty that's like down at the end of the street pretty much, and just put like weightless bread on the end of it and see if I can hook some like brim and garfish type thing, because they're always pretty like, they all love eating bread, like any fish that hang around the jetties, because people go down and they feed it to the ducks and the seagulls and stuff, like bits of bread. So the fish obviously learn to eat that, but they're always hesitant when there's like a sinker in it, because they're like, this isn't right. But if you can get like weightless bread in front of them, like you can catch surprisingly good fish with it. Hey,
that would be so much fun, especially on the bamboo. Like when you're saying that, I'm not sure if the rigs are legal, but we used to use them. Well, where you are anyway, but we used to buy them, and they're just like 5-6 hooks with like a bit of plastic on them, and they're great for like tommies and garfish. That would be so much fun.
The bait jig,
have one of them. Have one of them on a piece of bamboo, and then just jig that off a jetty for some garfish or tommies. That would be awesome fun.
That actually sounds like a good idea, and you've reminded me. I think I'm going to make a point of going to get one of those this week. I think I'm going to give it a crack finally. Yeah.
I can't wait to get tagged in the post on that one. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But like it was almost like going from compound bow to recurve bow, like
Yeah.
just full on. Even though it's like stocked ponds, and you could see the fish, like there's the golden trout were swimming around, and it's like this is the rainbow trout one, and this is the salmon pond, but. Oh, we just had an absolute blast, and three grown men just pissing themselves laughing, and just having the best time trying to hook a fish in a stock pond. Like whoever says that's easy.
Yeah, it's yeah, I did a bit of work at like a privately owned trout farm back in the day. It was only just for like a 3 day period, giving them a hand, getting ready for the Easter sort of rush, because that's obviously their busiest time of year. So just need a couple of young blokes, give them a hand. I'm like, we worked pretty hard, hey. Like it was a big day. Like you get there in the morning, you're like straight down to the ponds essentially. You run this net through it and you lift it up, and you're only pulling out the fish that are like the right size for that day, sort of thing, and then letting the others go. Then you go back up in the room and you're gutting them, filleting them, taking the roe out of them. Then like the owner would come and grab a heap of them, and then he'd be running them in and out of the smoker all day, and just love the smell of that place as well. Like every time we opened the door to like the smokehouse, it was like walk through the room where we're like cleaning the fish. It just smelled amazing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that smell. It's like walking into a butcher's, or
Yeah.
any like butcher that does like small goods, salamis and metwursts and.
Yeah, the ones that do their own small goods always smell good, like the cabanossis and the bacon. And whenever they're smoking it, you're like, yeah, this is a good butcher.
Oh, we got one up here. It's about 40 minutes from me, Mount Pleasant Butcher, and they do the best metwurst. And every time you drive past, you just smell their smoker going. And when I'm in the work truck, I drop in every time, call up one of my managers. I'm like, hey, I'm at the butcher. What do you want? And he's like, oh, get me the meter long stick.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much you can do with all of that stuff. Like yeah, it was cool because we caught the fish and they filleted them for you. You pay per kilo, and kept a couple whole. I'd never seen a tiger trout before, and one of the fellas caught one of them, and yeah, seen all the golden ones. It was just a cool experience, and then being able to eat some of that fish with some fresh venison when we finally got a deer down, it was just so good.
Oh, that would have been great. Yeah, I've never seen a tiger trout in person. I've seen, obviously, and I've got heaps of mates in the fly fishing circles, and they're catching them fairly regularly in different spots around the world, and especially in Victoria. I think there's a private hatchery. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I know a guy I know guides there fairly regularly, and they're like always catching them pretty much. So they must have a fair population of them stocked in there. Pretty cool. Yeah, I've just caught the three main trout in Australia. So like your brown, your rainbow, and your brook trout. The brook trout are pretty rare, and like we managed to find like a really isolated population up here in like northern New South Wales, and there's like no records of it anywhere. Like it's pretty cool. But I think from what I've seen, I haven't actually been back there since, but a few mates that used to fish it have been back. So we had that obviously really bad drought between 2017 and 2019, and they, from all reports, they didn't survive through it, which is a shame, because they were essentially a wild population. Like they weren't stocked by fisheries; they were there off their own bat from stocking who knows how long before.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what's your main, like I see you do spearfishing, you fish, you hunt. What's your main thing you do, or you try and mix it up?
I really try and mix it up, hey, and I think I've found over the years that I'm more seasonal on it. Like I think I naturally sort of drift into these rhythms where it's like, oh, like say March, April's coming around, my brain is naturally hardwired to want to be getting out in the hills looking for deer. Like that's almost built in. And when the years I can't get out and about, I'm like real angsty, like I'm always trying to find an opportunity to get out there around that time of year. And, you'll go fishing or something if you can't get out, and then you're like, oh, it's just, it's not hitting the spot. You just, you get stuck in these sort of things. And then, like over summer, love spearfishing when I can get in and do it. Like it's such a cool way to get a feed. It's like it's essentially underwater bow hunting, really. It's heaps of fun, and I think you get exposed to a lot of different species to what you catch on conventional gear because you're looking around different habitat and under different ledges, and it's a different experience. And then you've also got the chance that way to get rock lobster, abalone, sea urchin, all these different things that if you're fishing from the shore, you're never going to get. It's a really cool experience, and I just love how everything looks underwater as well. Like it's a whole different world down there, and it looks so much different below than it does from above. And yeah, it's hard to believe it's like I didn't start spearfishing till I was 30. Like I'm 34 now, sort of thing. So it was really eye-opening that first time I jumped in, and just looking at what that underwater world looks like it was like it's like the first time you get into anything, right? Like the first time, you go for a hunt or you go for like up some really nice trout stream. But it was just, yeah, finding that whole different world was an experience in itself. And even though the spot I went was probably like one of the most overfished, overspeared spots in the state, like around Nelson Bay, because it was like the beginner's spot, like, it's calm, protected from waves. Even when I got there was probably already 4 other guys in the water spear fishing up and down, and I sort of just got in behind them and followed along where they'd already been. But I was still seeing stuff, and I'm like, oh, what is that? Like, what's this fish with these bright, like, iridescent blue spots on the side of it? And, you're like, I don't even know what that is. And, yeah, really eye-opening, really cool. And I guess, yeah, it's sort of, I guess if you're a person that worries about a lot of stuff, it's you sort of find you don't. Like you're so like literally immersed in what you're doing that you forget about pretty much everything. You're just focused on what you're doing. You're just hunting around the rocks, the weeds, looking under stuff, looking for fish. Like, oh, what's that shape in the distance? And you're like, better check over my back and make sure a shark's not like trying to sneak one up on me. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been spearfishing a couple times, and I've had fair few spearfishers on because it's one of those things that go hand in hand with hunting. And yeah, I can't shake the that every time the sun goes behind a cloud and it gets dark, I'm like, oh, shark, or every time a bit of weed it gets me out of I'm like, oh, what's that? I've taken a flathead and a couple other things, and I quite enjoy diving down and catching crabs by hand. I enjoyed that aspect of it. You see them in the weed, and you got your measure and you grab them, measure them up while you're still underwater. I thought that's awesome fun. I cheat. I put a net with some bait in and get down there to bring them out, but it's still good fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I remember one time I was working down around Newcastle, and I went for a spear like straight after work. And I think I got there, and like just as I got there, the shadows from like the houses were just sort of starting to go over the water of this bay. I remember getting in and like being like that real shadowy, and you just got that sixth sense feeling all the time. You're like, oh, I really shouldn't be in the water, especially not on my own. And I won't go spearfishing on my own now. It's just like I've got 3 kids and I've got a wife at home. It's like they sort of need me. And I think the less I put myself in those high risk situations, probably the better. But yeah, I still remember like hanging, and I was just like hanging as close to this rock ledge as I could. So that way, if I saw any movement, I was just straight out. And I remember circling around, it's getting darker and darker, and I've just got that eerie feeling the whole time, like, yeah, there's going to be a shark here. Even though I'd been to that spot heaps of times before and never seen a shark other than a wobbegong, which are like a harmless sort of carpet shark. Well, not harmless, they do bite spearos, but it's normally when you put your hand blind into a hole trying to pull a lobster out and you didn't realise you put your hand straight over the top of one of them. And I remember finally come back to this spot, and I was like looking at this little tiny red mowong. They're like a species that most beginner spearfishers in a New South Wales sort of spear as like one of their first fish, and I was looking at it. It's sitting on this little gravel patch, and I'm going, oh, it's probably really undersized. And I'm like, I think I'll just jump out of the water. And I think I lifted my head up a bit, and as I did, like, I saw it must have been his big brother or something come cruising down the rock. I'm like, you'll do. It's like quick shot, absolutely like skewered him, perfect like stone shot sort of thing. But then I remember I was only like 2 meters from the edge of the rocks, and I was just straight out. I just like a seal, just straight up in the rocks, and then I pulled like the line in with the spear from there, and I didn't get back in the water. So I was like, I don't want to be in that situation with, you know, blood in the water right on dusk. And I think it was, I went back there with another mate probably 6 months later, and we were off his jet ski just around the corner from there, like not far at all. And these other two guys had swum out to this point, and then all of a sudden we see one of them's up on the rocks, and he's like, shark, shark. And we're like, oh, like, where, how big? You know, he's like, big enough I don't want to be in the water anymore. And he's yelling out at us, and we're like, oh, okay, this is a bit interesting. And so sort of swam over to where he was a bit, and then he's like, oh, he took my fish, and like my spear gun's down there as well now. And then his other mate was just didn't have a spear gun at all. He's just in a pair of budgie smugglers, and like this, he's like, oh, I need to get my gun back. And we're like, jump in and we'll like swim out with you, you know, safety in numbers type thing. And so we've all got our spear guns like pointing out in front of us as we swam this guy back out, and it ended up just being a grey nurse shark, but a pretty decent size one, like probably about 7 foot or so. But yeah, he'd shot a fish, and he was down on the bottom, and he was just like gone to like grab his spear to like pull it up, and it's just like come from the side and just grabbed hold of the fish, and he's just obviously crapped his dax and dropped everything and swam off, which is probably the right thing to do in those situations if, you know, you're on your own and you don't have anyone with you that's able to fend it off for you. But yeah, and then I was like, oh, so maybe, you know, my fear of sharks probably wasn't,
it was warranted,
all that unrational, because it was only like 100 meters from where I shot that other fish and had that really eerie feeling that afternoon. So
yeah, that's crazy. Like
yeah.
when I first started the podcast, I had Aaron Whitaker. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but he's a gun hunter who was from South Australia. He's just moved over to the States, the lucky bugger. But
he's like, yeah.
he was an unreal spearo, and you know, he'd been over to like Vanuatu and travelled all over spearing, but he had a real unfortunate sad incident where he went out spearing with 2 mates, and one of his mates got taken right next to him. And like, he told that story on the podcast, and it gives me chills every time I think of it, and it's just like, Jesus Christ. And then one of the other fellas who is the president of the Spearfishing Club here in South Australia, he's an abalone diver, and he was telling a story. He was diving for abs, and a seal grabbed him on the top of the head, and he freaked. He thought it was a shark. It's just come out and crunched him on top of the head, and he didn't know what had him, and he shit himself. And yeah, those stories don't leave my mind.
Yeah. I don't know if you like. There's good podcasts for spearfishers. Obviously, Noob Spearo podcast. I'm sure you've heard of it. Like Isaac's a legend, and yeah, I know. Yeah, I think it's probably listening to his is like why I made that decision to not dive alone. It's like he had the guy of a brother on that, you know, watched his brother get mauled by a shark off like Fraser Island, and you know, like that story's like, that's gut wrenching to listen to, and you're like, that's not, yeah, it's just. And that was even with someone there. It was just like one of those things that's a freak.
Yeah, that's
the blue accident. And yeah, it's an unfortunate sort of reality. It's like, unfortunately, you know, like spearfishing here, and even things like, you know, hunting in the States where you got grizzlies and stuff, like these are, you know, statistically low chances of getting bitten by a shark or bitten by a grizzly, but you're in a user group that's the most likely to have it happen to you. So it's, you know, Yeah, I guess Australians have a bit of a, she'll be right attitude to a lot of stuff, but I think probably need to tone that down a bit and have a look at it a bit better because sometimes, yeah, you probably won't be right. Like you should look after yourself, look after your family.
Yes, that's the one thing. Like chatting to Americans about hunting, like they're like, "Oh, I'll never go to Australia. It's too dangerous to go hunting. You know, you've got snakes, you got this, you got that." And it's like, mate, you've got way more deadly shit on land than we do. Like you've got large
Yeah,
carnivores that are actively trying to eat you, and it's
yeah,
just like same. I'm
mountain
like,
lions, yeah, bears.
where here it's the waters you have to worry about, but then you listen to Spiros like Luke Potts, and he's just has shark run-ins all the time, and he's just like constantly poking sharks away from him when he's out chasing fish, and it's just
Yeah,
insane. And he posts the most unreal videos of him just pushing sharks away.
yeah, I think that's the key to being a gun spearer is just being absolutely comfortable with sharks and being able to read their body language to know when they're fired up and when they're not, I suppose. And the more stories I listen to of people, there's always the ones that are like real casual with like they'll swim through like a school of bull sharks to get to some fish, and like I wouldn't even be in the water. Like I would be on the boat so fast if I saw that underwater. And but you know what? And my goal isn't to be the best Spiro in the world. It's like my goal is to get in and get a feed and actually come back out of the water to enjoy the food. So that's my mantra going into the water. And yeah,
Yeah, no, I feel the same. Like when I went over to New Zealand hunting, it's just like the guys I was with, they were young, they were single, and they pushed onto some cliffs and some waterfalls. I didn't feel comfortable going. I'm like, I'll just stay here and hunt around here. You know, I got a wife and kids at home. You guys want to push a bit further? You guys can. I'm just gonna chill around here where it's nice and safe, and I can return home.
yeah, yeah. New Zealand tar hunt's probably. Well, that's bucket list. That's bucket list for me. It's something I'll look at doing. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But
It's
yeah,
worth it. It's
yeah,
so worth it. It's just such an incredible place, and the the access for people from Australia and around the world to go there and just public land hunt is just incredible. For them
yeah,
to have, you can drive a rental to some of these car parks and just walk from the car park to some of these huts and hunt from these huts or these tops, or you don't even need to fly in. If you're chasing big old mature bulls, yeah, it's worth it to do that. But if you're keen on walking and you're happy taking a young animal, it's accessible for anyone to do.
yeah. Sweet. Yeah, and I probably more look into the hiking DIY stuff rather than the ballot helicopter flying stuff. Just yeah, I'm not after like a big, however big inch altar. That's not. I'd be happy with either or. Like I think that's just such a cool animal. I'd just obviously doing it for the experience, just being over there, and I think it'd be really cool to tie it with like a good time for fly fishing over there. And I know that's probably a hard thing to juggle because I think their season closes as like the really good tar hunting opens up around sort of that end of April. Is it early May sort of thing? Yeah, I
Yeah, I
can't
think
remember when their season shuts. I think their trout season shuts early. I'll have to look back into it again. But yeah, I want to be able to do both when I go over there. And it's probably not the best way to go about it. Like, you're probably better off doing like a dedicated either week of fishing and like a dedicated week of tar hunting or two separate holidays altogether sort of thing. But it's a nice dream to have and maybe it'll happen.
no, you definitely do it.
Yeah.
You plan it around the trout. The tar are always in the hills and they're always huntable. They might just be a bit higher up and harder to get to, but hey, if trout season's open, get over there and do both. There's no reason why you
Yeah.
can't. And there's
Yeah. 100%.
deer and wallabies. Like that was one of the cool things with one of the American boys I was out with. He nailed a wallaby, and he was more happy with a wallaby than a tar or a chamois or anything that he could have taken. He was just more stoked with shooting this little Bennett's wallaby.
Yeah, it always like I still remember the first time I think I saw a video of someone like shooting a possum or a wallaby And I was like, oh man, this person's like going to end up in prison. Like they're going to end up thing. And I'm like, oh, hang on, the trees don't look right. And I'm like, oh, what is this? I'm like, New Zealand. And I think I even saw a video of someone shooting a magpie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, like you're gonna land yourself in a bit of hot water here and then again. And I was like, New Zealand as well, and like they're introduced there, and yeah, it was eye opening the first time I saw that as a teenager. Like the videos of
I'm guessing
like
it was
protected
probably
species here.
BJ Holdsworth. Is that who was bow hunting the magpies? He put out a video where he was
It probably was actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he was baiting them up onto his lawn and shooting them with a bow. And I'm just like, this is badass. I'm like, because you can't, it's just one of those things, you can't do it here. So if you can go do it in a country where you can, of course you want to give it a go. Like if I ran into one of the wallabies with a bow, damn right I would have shot it with a bow. And it was just,
Yeah, I think for sure. I think I'd definitely take the chance to shoot a wallaby over there. Like just to eat, like 'cause wallabies, kangaroos are good eating, but like, yeah, it seems like, I don't know. Magpies are pretty cool. I don't know if I could bring myself to shoot one of them, even if I could, sort of thing. It's I'm getting to be more of a meat focused hunter. So I'm sort of like, I was looking at stuff like it's a menu item. It's like, is this what I want to? Is this on my ingredient list? It's
there's no reason you can't cook up a bit of Peking magpie while you're over there.
yeah. I mean, hey, maybe it's the next best thing. It might underutilized resource maybe.
That's it. Like my first trip over there was to the North Island, and the guys over there are just wild. Like every possum that ran out on the road, my mate's swerving to hit him, and then he'd pull over. And because what happens is possum wool, like possum fur, is massive industry over there. Well, it used to be. It still is pretty decent today, but they'd pull over and pluck them, so they don't skin them. They pluck all the hair out of them. So they carry a garbage bag in their car, and once they get a kilo worth of fur, they go sell it. Like I don't know what it is worth now, but at some points they'll get over $100 per kilo of possum fur. So they'll just kill every possum they could, whether it was bow, rifle, car, traps, whatever. And just pluck them as soon as they got them. And they just all carried these bags of possum fur in their car.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I'd probably take the chance to get a possum over there and then try and get the skin back into Australia, I think, because possum fur is such good fly tying material as well. Like when I went down to Tassie, it was like every second fly was like a possum emerger or a possum dun, or these really great sort of just the materials like that, got that good buoyancy in it as well. It's obviously probably hollowed out fibers to keep them warm from the elements, like essentially, and it's just like got really good like hydro properties, so it like sits really well in the water column. And caught I think my biggest trout I caught in Tassie, which was like a 67 centimeter brown trout out in the Western Lakes. I think that was on there. It's either on a possum emerger or a possum shaving brush fly. Like, it was pretty cool. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, they've just got, they're just different with how they treat some of their introduced species over there. I'm pretty sure I told this on the last podcast I recorded, but we're walking through the forest, looking like as we're hunting sika, and the next minute my mate goes, "There's a hedgehog," and this is under headlight, and then next minute he just stomps the heck out of it. I'm like, what? Like, I'm a curious person. Like, I like to, see a new animal. I like to pick it up and check it out. And, I didn't even think that there was hedgehogs over there. And then next minute he's stomping the shit out of this this hedgehog. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's just like, they're introduced, we have to kill every single one we see because, they're wreaking havoc over here. I'm like, okay, but next time can you at least let me have a look at one first?
The hedgehog's the one that... No, it's porcupines that shoot the quills, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had them two mixed up for a second. I'm like, oh man, he's brave. And as I'm going through it in my head, I'm like, no, there's a different thing. But yeah, wow.
And it was just so eye-opening because I'm like following him. He goes, "Oh, look, hedgehog!" And then without even hesitation, he just starts stomping it. And I've gone, what? Come on, man, let me look at it next time. Like, I don't mind you have, like, I understand you have to get rid of them and kill everyone you see, but let me have a look next time before it's all squished.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of introduced things in New Zealand, do you ever hear like I haven't looked too far into it, but I think they definitely did release some from what I've read, but
Moose,
moose.
yep, yep. So they released, I think it was a dozen to start off with, and a couple got out. They caught a bunch of bulls. Sorry, not bulls, calves from somewhere in the States, and they were a gift from Teddy Roosevelt, and they released them into Fiordland. And so they released them, and they eventually got to populations where they could start hunting them. And a few guys shot some bulls and some cows, and then they started to thin out. And now they're the New Zealand Bigfoot. People
Yeah,
every year there's like Americans and Canadians that are hiking, trekking through this area, and they go, "There's a bull moose or a cow moose standing in the riverbed," and no one's ever able to get a photo in time for it, but they've
yeah,
found antlers and hair all through, like, but like the antler's like a 3-4 year
okay.
old antler, but they haven't found any living ones. There's $100,000 reward for the first person to bring credible proof that they're still
That
out
they're
there
still around.
in this area, which is
Yeah, I
insane.
mean, yeah, I mean, surely it's got to be in this day and age. It's got to be hard for an animal that big to be able to hide from everyone, right? Like,
From what I understand, I haven't been into Fiordland, but from everyone that I've spoken to, Fiordland is just this insanely dense, thick, wild place.
yeah, and
And
it
it's just,
rains for like 99% of the year as well. Then they get like 6 meters of rain in a year or something phenomenal like that. Yeah, I remember I had a mate from back in Corindai, and I think he went over there, and I think it rained their whole trip in,
yeah.
like the whole camp, the whole 2 weeks, I think it was just rain, and that was it.
It would be just absolutely insane. Like, I know it's not technically a Lazarus species because it's not like a native species that disappeared and then has come back, but they're an introduced species that are disappeared and supposedly still out there. But it would just be awesome to be someone that found them, or the first guy in 90 years to shoot one. Like, because hell yeah, if I found one, I'd shoot one. I know that's that's controversial,
Yeah,
but if you're going out there and you need credible proof, what better proof is there than a dead
yeah,
moose?
you can't argue with that, can you? It's pretty conclusive.
So the guy that I actually hunted tar with, Jurgen, he's planning a trip early next year. He's taken all his hunting and camera gear, and he's going on a couple-week exploration looking for him. So we'll see within next year sometime if I'm doing a
Yeah, I
podcast,
mean, it's
because
pretty
I said to him, I'm like, if you find it, you're not allowed to speak to any other media. Like, you're coming on my
yeah,
podcast first, and we're talking about it.
exclusive deal.
Like,
Yeah, love it. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say like evident like antler that's 3 or 4 years old. Like, I mean, that's interesting. I mean,
look,
even that
I
being
could just
that
be putting
fresh
the date
is
on that, but
yeah,
it's just articles that I've read that found like chalkies and hair and all sorts of stuff, but they haven't, blurry image here and there. And it's always like Americans and Canadians that are seeing them. It's like there was some bush pilot flew over a river and he's seen this moose disappear off the riverbed into the scrub. And then, yes, the two sightings last year were in a fairly like on the outskirts, but yeah, again, right on rivers, and Americans, Canadians seeing him, hey, going, hey, I seen a moose down here on this river. I didn't know you guys had moose. And they're like, we haven't had moose for like 80, 90 years.
yeah,
So you'd think if anyone was able to identify them, it would be some of these Canadians and Americans that are seeing them.
yeah, yeah. You would think they would be have at least an idea of what they're looking at.
But yeah, it would be just an insane story. But yeah, like I said to Jurgen, I'm just like, you're not allowed to release anything until you've come on the podcast and we chat about it. I'm like, you're not allowed. Yeah, it would just be an awesome, surreal. And plus, you'd get 100 grand for it, plus whatever other media.
Yeah.
So foraging, you told us how you got into hunting and spearing and fishing. How'd you get into the foraging side of things?
Yeah, so Yeah, so that's a sort of funny one. I remember, like, even as a kid, I remember finding, we used to find like white, obviously, like your button mushrooms, like from your shops, your Agaricus bisporus, like your most common mushroom that everyone knows and eats. I remember finding those on like my grandparents' like little acreage thing, and I remember them cooking them up. But then, yeah, that was it. Like everything else is a toadstool. You don't eat it. Like that is the one and only. It's got to have brown gills underneath. It's got to be white. And then trying to think when it was. I think it was probably. I remember seeing. I don't think who it was now. I remember someone. It might have been Profty. I think I seen him, like, obviously getting some pine mushrooms and stuff when he was out hunting on his YouTube videos. And I sort of like, I guess it sort of tweaked my interest. And then I was like, oh, he's down around, like, he's down more central west New South Wales. I'm like New England. Well, I don't think I've seen any of these mushrooms before, even though I've spent a heap of time in the pine forest. And I remember being out, like, in a state forest, like, close to Tamworth one time. Obviously hunting under the R license, like looking for deer. Probably when was it? It was probably early. Yeah, it was early March, so it wasn't. It wasn't. We woke up to bucks grunting like from camp, but they weren't like the rut wasn't started yet. So it was probably I think it was mid March. We were out and I remember walking through this stand of pines and like we were sort of we just like seen or heard something. We're trying to get a better angle on it. As well, like walking through, I looked down and saw these mushrooms. I was like, oh. And I sort of like kicked it with my boot a bit and it like flipped over. And then I remember like seeing that bright orange and like the ring in the center. I'm like, oh, I don't know, heaps about mushrooms, but that looks like one of these pine mushrooms. But I didn't grab it. We were in like a hurry. We we're like trying to get around this next bend to see. I think there was some pigs down around there. Like we could hear them or smell them. I remember like we were pretty close. The wind ended up swirling and blowing it all up anyway. But that happens. I remember going home after that and like, well, I think that's a pine mushroom. And then I remember like looking it up and like, yeah, that's definitely what I saw. And then I remember in another hunting group I saw someone had. No, actually, that's what it was. I remember I went out with my wife's cousin Luke, and he took me to a place he was working, and with my air rifle, and we nailed a heap of pigeons that were like in this warehouse, causing all sorts of damage, and we nailed like 20 of these pigeons with the air rifle. And I took a few because I'm like, they're obviously just in here eating grain and stuff. So they're not like the dirty street pigeons like cigarettes button sitting and stuff, they're just eating grain and hanging out this shit. So I'm like, I'll take a few and I'll eat a few. And I think I made a bit of a pigeon pie sort of thing. I think from memory, I had some dehydrated morels that I added into the pie recipe, and I think Wild Food Master Alex Sering, I think you probably heard of him.
I know Alex well. He's been on.
Yeah, I think I said I put morels in it, and he's like, oh, like foraged or bought, and I'm like, oh, well, dehydrated because there's no morels in Australia. And he's like, no, there's morels in Australia, and he's like, have a look in this group, and then I joined this Australian mushroom hunters group, and then I'm like, oh wow, like I really have no idea. Just this whole, and it's like that spearfishing experience again. It's like here's this whole other world like right under your nose. Everyone walks past day in day out, and then I just sort of got like really into it. Watched a few more videos, like read some books, and then went out and about. I remember coming in probably like April around Anzac Day and like dragged the kids all up to the forest, and it'd been raining a bit, and we managed to like just absolutely fluke that we pulled up at this spot, and like right where we parked the car there's like saffron milk-cap mushrooms like grown right on the edge of the forest, and like we filled a couple of cardboard trays with them, no worries, and found some different stuff, and it just sort of became one of these things. It was like it was a lot less effort than getting everyone ready and organized to go out for a hunt, but it was a good way of being outdoors doing something the kids like, have a great time as it, because they can be noisy. You're not telling them to be quiet all the time, like, so you're scaring stuff off. You're not going to scare a mushroom away, like they're just there, right? So it's a great, like, sort of low stress thing to do with the kids and just have a good time together. So yeah, and we ended up just doing that, and obviously pretty seasonal, but yeah, and then that was what led to the card thing that we discussed earlier. And yeah, no, I've just been sort of doing like on and off, and I'll see people post stuff and then I'll go, oh, like, I sort of like to see what people are finding and then go, okay, let's work on finding that one next. And yeah, now I've found some pretty cool stuff. Like, there's a big white, like, parasol type mushroom the guys call like dollies. They're like, probably butcher the Latin name. It's like Molchellia dolcellius or something. I've absolutely hacked that, I can tell already. But yeah, they're like big. The stem will grow like 30 centimeters plus, and they'll be like a dinner plate.
That's
like
crazy.
It can be a dinner plate size, like big white mushroom. And I remember, like, because they've got white gills as well, so it's always one of these things. It's like, remember, even mum was a kid, like, you don't eat mushrooms with white gills. Like, white gill mushrooms toxic. Like, that's just a general rule. But the more you like get into these groups, you realize it's like, it's not, the rules aren't as hard and fast as people think. There obviously definitely are rules, and there are definitely species that will, like, end your whole life if you even eat a little bit of them.
A Wellington.
So yes, exactly. Case in point, that, yeah. The famous Wellington mushroom that grows underneath oak trees down in Victoria and Canberra and bits of South Australia as well. Like, obviously, you want to avoid that one, and a lot of others as well. But then, you find there's lots of other things, and like, Australia even has, we've got everything from morels, we've got native chanterelles, we've got there's another, get like woody fungus native, we get shiitake mushroom native, there's a native enoki mushroom, which is like, the little tiny straw-like mushrooms you'll see at the Asian grocery marts and at your ramen places and things like that. Obviously, they look a little different in the wild because apparently they grow that really slender shape, the tiny little cap, because of the environment like they're grown in, because they're normally grown in these jars in tight spaces. But when they're in the wild, like, they have a bigger head on them. So it's, yeah, I haven't found those yet. I think I've walked past them a few times not knowing what they were. And I guess the hardest thing is I found one. Oh, yeah, we also get, there's a species that America has as well, and we have our own version of it here. It's called chicken of the woods. Yeah. And it's like this orange and white sort of bracket type fungi that grows on like fallen logs and things. And the hunters in the States go nuts for them as well, like, because they find lots of this, like, they find morels and all these other things while they're out, deer hunting, turkey hunting, depending on the time of year. And I remember we were at this national park up at Dorigo, and like walking through there, and I look over and there's this fallen log, and it is absolutely covered in chicken of the woods mushrooms. And the worst part is, national parks, you're not allowed to take anything. It's like, it's public land, but is it really for the public? I don't know. It's feels like we're very low on the equation of priorities when it comes to national parks.
Yeah, 100%. Like, the food sources, Victoria have the right way of doing it with majority of national parks, and especially them opening more and more down there. But yeah, just the amount of food that people can forage and hunt that is just off limits, is just insane. But yeah, the chicken of the woods, I watch a few TikToks of people cooking them up. They turn them into almost like schnitzels and fry them up, and popcorn mushroom nuggets and all sorts of stuff. Like, it looks so good.
Yeah. So it's one of those things, I'm like, you find it and then you just, like, you can't do anything with it. It's not even like you could try and be sneaky if you were that way inclined, because it's like, it's literally the biggest, like, tourist area at Dorigo. Like, it's this big walking track. Like, there's people on there constantly. Yeah, it's not
At
I'm not
least
advocating for anyone stealing from national parks. Let's just leave it at that.
At least the good thing about it is like you get an idea of where to find them, so you can like snapshot that in your mind and be like, oh, this is the kind of spot that they're found, and then you take that and
Yeah, and then
search.
also the time of year, I guess, is the other thing. And yeah, so yeah, you're looking for that summer. Summer's the time. You're looking for these sort of more temperate, rainforesty areas, and then you're looking for like a section that's like probably more in a bit of a shaded gully and full of logs. And I guess once you've got that snapshot of it, you know where you're looking for. It's much the same as the pine mushrooms. You know, the minute that you're getting your typical autumn, sub 20 temperatures, and you've had like it's been good humidity wise, like you've had rain like within the last week, or it's been like, nice heavy fog due early mornings, those first few weeks of autumn, you're gonna find the pine mushrooms pretty much.
Yeah, I'm always too late on them. Like I really need to get out there with my youngest lad and give it a good try. Like my foraging extends to me walking past something while I'm out hunting and go, hey, I've seen that on a foraging group, and then jump on, take photos, compare it with like I'll be sitting laying down in the middle of the paddock, and I'll be like going through Facebook groups and searching this type of mushroom and just
Yeah.
double checking to make sure, and that's what I did with some puffballs that I found. Wasn't a fan of them. I picked a whole bunch of them and
Yeah.
did them in a pasta,
Same
but
here.
yeah, wasn't a fan. But shaggy manes, well, I found a few of them, and the thing with them, they're all in urban-y type areas, so
Yeah, and you gotta eat them pretty quick as well.
I learned that the hard way. The first time I picked them,
Yeah,
I'm like, oh,
so
these are shaggy manes, and then by the time I got back to work, they were just ink.
yeah, I remember at my last like surveying job being out and about in a paddock and finding heaps of puffballs. Like it had rained like 2 days forward, and this place was like loaded with them. And I remember I think I had like this instant like Thai green curry noodles or something for lunch. Like, and it was going to heat up for my jet ball in the back of the ute, like at lunchtime. And I was like, well, stuff it. Like, here's all these puffballs. Grabbed a heap of them. Like, I researched a little bit on the puffballs. It was just a matter of finding them. Like, I'd sort of put them on my list of things to find. And yeah, don't get me wrong, the taste wasn't bad at all. It was the texture I was not a fan
Very
of. So
tofu-y. I don't like tofu, and that's what I
yeah,
that's exactly
yeah,
what it tastes
yeah.
like to me.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I haven't found Shaggy Manes. That's one of the ones that's been on my list, but I just haven't found yet. The same as you, and probably talked about earlier. Morel is obviously top of my
Yeah.
list here as well. But I found some cool ones in the last couple of years, like especially since like living down on the coast for a bit, like especially like everywhere from I guess probably a bit south of Sydney right through mid north coast early, probably around March, April. You find like they're only normally small and they're like an apricotty orangey sort of color. You can find like native chanterelles.
Yeah.
I remember actually being out like on a mountain bike ride and going through this like single track section of bushland and like saw a couple of them on the side of the track and it's like pulled up. I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot of them. So I like emptied my drink bottle and just loaded it up full of these mushrooms and then drove home and like that night cooked up like a risotto with these mushrooms I got out on my mountain bike ride. It was
That's
yeah, it's
awesome.
pretty cool. And then another mountain bike ride I was on, I found I saw these other white mushrooms and I'd seen someone else like probably an hour away in one of the groups had found what they call hedgehog mushrooms. Sort of like look like your white mushroom, but then they got like these little like pinnacle like type things that hang down from the top of them. Yeah, like really weird and yeah, found a handful of those as well and took them up. And they're probably one of the tastiest mushrooms I've found yet, I reckon. It's yeah, they're definitely one that's on the list for always look out for them now. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, ink caps were pretty cool. They've got a wicked flavor to them. I really want to do like pasta, like ink pasta with them. Give that a go. Like just get a whole heap and let them do their explodey melty thing that they do, which is crazy. Like because you'll drive past a patch one day and you're like, oh, I'll stop there tomorrow, and then they've already exploded the next day you go past, and
Yeah,
it's just
they won't be there the next day.
but they're in like very disturbed areas. So like somewhere that they've just put all new grass in, or they've just put gravel pits in, or like they just pop up in the weirdest places. And sometimes you're like, oh,
Yep.
should I be taking these mushrooms right off the side of a main road? But give it a go.
Yeah. It's one of those things, and I know it's like talked about like intro to mushroom hunting. We used to always find like your typical your agaricus mushroom, like your button mushroom. A lot of what people find nowadays is, and I think it's only a relative. It's like becoming more increasingly common. There is actually a toxic mushroom in that family that grows in Australia, and it's especially prevalent in built up and disturbed areas. So like freshly disturbed grass, like your nature strips, sidewalks, you'll find them, and they aren't as nice and round on top. They have like a square sort of boxy shape to them.
Yellow stain.
Yes, yellow stainers, and they have sometimes if they've been wet, you won't be able to smell them immediately. But if you put them into a fry pan or like the microwave, you'll get a smell that's like, what is it, fennel? It's like the stuff they use to clean out garbage bins. It's like a pretty strong chemical smell. Like you only have to go find that in the aisle at Bunnings and walk past where it's stored, and you'll know what the smell is. And then you'll know that if your mushrooms smell like that, just put them in the bin. It's not worth it. So I remember I found a heap one day and cooked them up like the next day. And I'm like, as I'm cooking them, Sarah's like, they stink. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, they do stink. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, that's why
they didn't really stain. They didn't stain yellow immediately, and they didn't have a smell because they had been rained on like the day before sort of thing, and so it's like led to that false sense of security. But yeah, as soon as they were in the fry pan, they stunk the whole house out.
Oh no, that would suck. I'd get into so much trouble if I did that.
Oh yeah, I was in trouble, don't get me wrong.
That's why I stick to the real easy stuff. Like that's why I'm like want to go find morels and puccinis. Like they find some monster puccinis in the Adelaide Hills and in this certain area, like 3-4 kilo mushrooms, like just absolute stonkers.
Yeah, I like foraging enough, and I want to get a puccini enough that I think I'll eventually plan a family holiday around going to South Australia at the right time of year to look for puccini.
Well, do it. I've got the contacts that go out and do it every year. I'm just too deer obsessed when they're around. Every year I'm like, oh, I should go try and find them, and it's just like, nah, deer on my brain. So, but sing out, and I'll hook you up with some contacts, and we'll get out for a hunt when you're down.
Sounds good. And I think you mentioned before, it's like you always miss that pine mushroom season. I think that's where, like, unless and it's one of those things. Like I used to only be getting them if we were out hunting in that rut period in state forest, because you're just coming across them all the time. Like you sit down for a bit and there they are, and you just like grab a heap of them, put them in your backpack, and you go on with your day. Or you go for a hunt, and then on your way back to camp you just pull into a stand of pines and grab a handful to cook up with the venison that night. It's always a good time. And I guess if you're not hunting, like obviously the public land in New South Wales is mostly a lot of it is plantation pine forests that's open to hunting. So it's two sort of go hand in hand. If you're lucky enough to get a booking in that rut period, you're sort of in with the chance to be looking for pine mushrooms at the same time. So you can at least combine it. It's not like you have to go, oh, do I want to go deer hunting or do I want to go mushroom foraging today? You can be a bit of a generalist on those days.
Yeah, very, very lucky there. We got no public land here for hunting, so it makes it hard. But like I said, I've found puffballs, and even though they're not edible, but well, for me they aren't. I was so excited when I found them. Like I had my green neck scarf, and I've folded that out, and I've placed that on the ground. I'm going around picking and made like a little sack of these puffballs. I was so excited. I went home, got cheese and pasta and made like a nice creamy bacony sauce to go on the pasta with the puffballs. And my first bite, I was so disappointed.
Yeah, I know that feeling all too well with puffballs. It's like you can eat them, but
And they smell
I
good
just
too.
I
Like
just wouldn't again.
they've
Yeah,
got
yeah,
that
and that's
real
the thing. They
nice
smell.
earthy smell.
I go so far as say they taste okay, but yeah, I just couldn't get past the texture on them. I was just yeah. I think I ate a couple of them just to be like a bit stubborn and make sure I wasn't like being too harsh and rash in my judgment of it. And I was like, no, this deserves a place in the bin at the moment. Yeah, probably. I remember one day it was like just before Christmas, and I teed up to go for a spearfish with a mate, and I was also like, I want you to help me get like my first abalone or a lobster. Like, I want to get something cool for Christmas, like that sort of thing. And on the way there, I saw like I saw one of those dolly mushrooms we were talking about, and I'd never seen one before in the wild. But as soon as I saw it, it was like this big, like 30 centimeter stem, and it had the mushroom on top, but it hadn't unfurled yet. So it was like this big ball, and it looked like a soft ball on top, like that sort of size, like a baseball type thing on top. And I was like, I'm stopping to grab this, and my mate Rob, he's just like absolutely taking the piss of him. He's like making up Latin names for it. He's like, it looks like golf ballius, hideous, like because it just looks like a golf ball on a tee. And yeah, and then it was good because we got in the water and we managed to. I think we got a couple of fish each, but then we also managed to get some abalone as well, which is great. And then I went over to a mate's place the next night, and we he put some traps in for mud crabs, and then obviously we had like a bit of a thing. And then while we were out, like we were trying to catch some extra flathead and some things while these mud crab traps were in. And we go and check the traps, and one of the two traps he had in had a nice mud crab in it. So we're like, yes, like absolutely cheering, get it back. And his wife and his wife's sister had made up like all this like fresh pasta and pasta sauce, and then like I've pulled the abalone out of the esky. We've got the mud crab. Like we made up like this abalone pasta with like that dolly mushroom, and it's like probably one of the best like wild food meals I've ever eaten. Like that, the abalone and the dolly mushroom, just sensational. Really, really nice. And then obviously the mud crab and stuff to top it off it's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what I love about the hunting, foraging, fishing is just the food that it brings. Like I'm much like yourself. Yes, I love a good head and pair of antlers and horns and whatever, as you can see behind me. But it's the food for me that does it. Like I absolutely love it, and that leads me to my next question. Hohnke Outdoors. How did it all come about? Like you've just brought out a book, which is amazing. You've got those cards, and you've got spices and all sorts.
Yeah, so I guess it was probably trying to think. It was probably there was a time, like obviously this time I put a lot of hunting and stuff on the back burner, and a lot of fishing as well while I did like a uni degree, like part time, which took forever. It took like 7 years to get through this surveying degree part time, like because it's a 4 year full time course. So it's like the best part of 7 years, where it's like I've pretty much committed the rest of my weekends for that entire time, except for like holidays, to study and doing assignments, because you're too buggered to do a lot of it on a weeknight after work. Like, so the weekends got a lot chewed up with that. And as I was coming towards the end of that course, probably 2018, 2019, I'm like, you know what? I need more. Yeah, and actually, that's a lot of the driving factor. I remember being, because I've been fly fishing as well, like for so long, like all through, probably like fly fish pretty hardcore from like 2009 right through to like 2017. And then that drought obviously started to happen, and watching all the like trout streams and stuff dry up around home, and you couldn't even look at them anymore. I think I even let my fishing license expire for a little bit because the drought was so bad out near Tamworth. And
Yeah, wow.
like one of the dams even got down to like 0.4%, and there was Murray cod like in there swimming sideways, like dying and stuff. And it's just like, it's gut wrenching stuff. Like when you're a fish out to sea see that come to like your fisheries. So that was when I sort of turned. I was like, I'm going to go more back to hunting, even though like drought. And so I was like dry, dusty walking. But I think I'd put off getting my gun license. I'd always had the application from like the day I turned 18 because I used to have a junior permit. And I was like, well, I'm pretty time starved because I'm doing uni. So I want to go out and get deer and stuff for meat, but I don't have the time like I used to like, you know, go out for extended days with a bow in hand to guarantee bringing something home. So I'm like, best chance is get a rifle, you know, get out, shoot first deer I see, put it in the freezer, bring it home. And, you know, that's what we did pretty much. Like, and then I guess cooking, like learning more like the food prep and handling side of it, and then getting into that. And I started mucking around with some spice rubs. And I think there was even a state forest hunt I did, and I shot a small, like, I wouldn't say like a piglet. It was like probably a half grown, sort of probably like a 6 to 9 month old type pig, not fully a year, but pretty small. I remember drilling it with a 308 and bringing it back home with the intention of just like, so I was like, oh, I should get it for the dogs. And then I read about like the risk of raw pig meat for your dogs, like you can get that disease from it. And I was like, oh, I'll cook it and then take it off the bone and give it to the dog. And then I was looking at it, I'm like, oh man, this is a lot of work. Like, I was like, and I just had to muck around. I'm like, oh, I mixed up all these spices and I sort of wrote down what I did and rubbed it on and ended up putting like these 2 legs from this like half grown pig into the smoker and like smoking it. And like every time I walk past it, I'm like, this smells so good. Like this definitely isn't going to the dog anymore, I don't think. Like I'm going to eat this. And then like smoked it for a few hours and wrapped it up in foil with a bit of apple cider vinegar to like trap the moisture in there and then let it roll. And then I remember pulling it out and like grabbing hold of the bone and the bone just like falling out of the meat. And like the meat just pulled apart so fine. And it's probably like with wild pigs, normally obviously leaner than like your domestic pigs. So you probably shouldn't like it probably most pigs, maybe they won't do that. Like wild pigs, they might not pull apart like that. But I think because it was such a young animal, so tender, it all just fell apart. And I remember making like some slider burgers with it and a bit of barbecue sauce and like coleslaw. I'm like, oh man, this is really good. And then I tried out. So that was like the origin of the rub we've got called Squealer. And it's like obviously comes from like, you know, it's a little tiny squealing pig type thing. And that's like, it's good for chicken, it's good for pig, wild boar. Like, you know,
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. And I remember even sending some to Ryan Meyer's expedition. He's a Spiro that lives in Hawaii, runs a pretty big YouTube channel, and I sent him some of my spices. And I think they bow hunted like a boar or something, and they cooked up a bit of it, and they put some of that squealer rub on it. And there's another guy on there. He's a pretty well-known hunter and spearfish as well, and his name has just left me for the first time. I think his Insta handle's Big Isle Guy. I think that might be him. Anyways, I remember he's like had a bit, and then Ryan's like, oh, you know, what do you think of this with the spice on it? He's like, oh, I don't like the taste of the pig. Like it's a bit, you know, sort of gamey, but he's like, the flavors on it are really good. And so I was like, I'll take that.
That's awesome.
Because it was like a big old dirty boar they'd shot sort of thing. So yeah, it's pretty cool feedback to get. And he obviously spearfished the heat. And so they got, there's another one I'd come up with. I'd sort of like looked into some different things. I was just sort of after a different taste for seafood, like rather than you just, you know, people lean towards like, you know, your lemon pepper and, you know, lemon and dill or, you know, things like that for seafood, like pretty bland. I was like, no, I think I want something a bit different. So I come with this Salt Bay one. It's like, yeah, you're talking paprika, like mustard powder, ground ginger, bay leaves, you know, pepper, chili flakes, nutmeg, cardamom, allspice, cinnamon, cloves. Like it's this absolute cocktail of spices, but it's like very fragrant, very different. It's probably like you probably can compare it to something like, say, Old Bay seasoning, like the seasoning that's pretty popular with the guys in the States.
Yeah,
And there's like, Salt Bay, it's like our Australian, obviously better version.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's like our seafood one. Goes great on everything from like lobster, mud crab, um, and anything in the ocean, pretty much, like fish, small game. Really good on vegetables. Like you sprinkle a bit of that in like roast potatoes. It's so good. And then the last one we've got is our double shot rub, which was one I came up with. I originally was mucking around with, I don't know if you've ever heard of like coffee barbecue rubs.
Yeah.
So it's basically like a barbecue rub that's got like fresh ground coffee in it. And I remember I was cooking up some beef short ribs in the smoker, and I'd been playing around, and I'd had dog and gun sandbar coffee beans, and I was mucking around with that. And I had a few different attempts at it. The first one was like, oh, that's probably a bit heavy on like the coffee, like I've probably overdone it in the coffee, and it's like overpowering everything. And then like increase a few of the other ingredients. It took probably a good 6 months to get it right, but like it is absolutely dialed now. Like, and you can. It's always funny because people always go like they look at it and like, oh, like they see it's like red meat, like game beef, lamb, goat sort of thing, and they're like, oh, that sounds really good. And then they see the coffee, and I think like they're imagining like, I don't know, maybe people are imagining like drinking a latte or something, or straight black coffee, and they're like, oh, I don't want my steak to taste like that. But it's really, it's nothing like that. Like it's probably like, it just helps all the other seasoning like shine through essentially. And this one's like so dialed now. I remember even a few guys at work were like, oh, what spices you do, and I'm like telling them a bit about it. I'm like, this is probably the one I recommend. Like if you're doing briskets, like beef short ribs, I'd highly recommend double shot. And they're like, oh, maybe I'll try the squealer one, like the one for the pork and stuff. I'm like, yeah, right. And I'll normally just like throw in a small bag of the double shot, and I can guarantee you within like a week they'll message me and be like, hey, I tried that double shot on some steaks, and I need you to bring me a big jar in tomorrow. Like, bring me a big shaker bottle in. I want a big shaker of it now. It's like, yeah, it's always sort of one of those things like people put up a wall like when they hear the coffee thing, but you've really got to give it a go. It's like we actually had it for dinner tonight. We had some steaks on a salad, and it's just Scotch fillet steak, double shot rubbed on it, like in the pan, a couple of minutes each side, cut it up, put it on the salad, and just the flavor from that it's top notch. It's really good stuff. And I'm obviously biased because I'm making it and selling it, but these are the spices in my cupboard that I've been using every day since really since like 2019, but like I sort of went to market with them and started selling to everyone in 2021. So we're 4 years in now selling the same things. The recipes haven't changed. Yeah, and they're still the only 3 spice rubs I keep in my cupboard, like for all my wild game cooking and even just everyday cooking as well.
Well, you've sold me. I'm gonna pay this next payday. I'm gonna get in trouble. I'll be getting a copy of the book, the cards, some spices.
Yeah,
there's my own Christmas present for this year done.
Yeah. Hey, that's it. You got to look after yourself.
That's it. I'm slowly getting a good collection of books here from Aussies, which is good. But yeah, speaking of your book, Rivers of Passage.
Yeah, so basically, it was probably around a similar time, like when that uni load sort of started dropping off. I remember, like, because obviously I used to write some articles when I was young for like Bio Hunting Down Under magazine. I always sort of had this thing, like, I always imagined writing would always be something I always did. And I remember like going to write a article for Fly Life magazine back in the day, and like about fly fishing for redfin or something. And I remember sending it to someone. I was like, oh, I was still like pretty green at this stage. I was probably only just 18, and I'd send it off and ask, hey, can you just run your eyes over this and honestly, tell me what you think of it. And he was pretty good, and he's a pretty well-known guy in the fly fishing circles. And he sent back, and he's like, "Yeah, you used like this term here, like the line screamed off the reel, or it's very repetitive and it's overdone. Like every man and his dog says like a lot of these sayings like over and over again. It's like what you need to do is work out how to essentially say the same thing, but say it in a new and different way that's like uniquely yours, and try not to learn to copy people." And yeah, I remember it might have been even after I was listening to Joe Rogan podcast for a while. I barely listen to it at all now, but remember listening to one of them. I can't remember if there was a guy on, Stephen Pressfield, who's a writer, and he wrote a book called The War of Art, not The Art of War, the one by the Chinese military guys, called The War of Art. And it's all about like our creative pursuits, and how it's essentially like you're going to war with yourself to grapple them out. Like we obviously all have these things inside of us that are essentially our life's calling, and that you need to fight daily to get into a position to get these out and share them with the world. And I can't remember if it was an episode directly with him on, or if he was just having a casual conversation with someone else and mentioned the book to them and what it was about. And I remember having a read. It's an audio book as well. And I think I had a quick listen through it a couple of times, because it's only probably like 2.5 hours audio book length, like pretty short and sweet. And I remember going, yeah, right, I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna write a book about fly fishing and a bit about my life in like the northern part of New South Wales, because I thought, this is a pretty unique thing. No one's really written a book about trout fishing in the New England part of New South Wales. There's lots of stuff written about the Snowy, the Monaro regions, lots about Victoria, especially lots about Tasmania. Like they've been writing books about Tasmanian trout fishing for over 100 years now. It's world famous, but it's like I found myself, I'm like, nothing's really been written about this area. So I started to write back, sort of like telling stories about, where it started. Like my mate and Jason and I pretty much gone like getting told a spot by a guy that owns a tackle shop, and Jason had driven past it once before, and it's like, it's a good 2.5 hours up the road from where we are. But like one day we went, stuff it, we're young, let's go. Barely any plans, like just some camping gear thrown in the car, like straight up the road. Don't even know where you're going to stay. Don't even know what you're going to eat. Just like one thing on your mind, like let's just go find some trout. And then like hiking down into this stupidly steep gorge country that's like so dangerous, and probably better suited to like if you had like canyoning or abseiling gear, and getting down there and wondering like, are we even going to find trout down here? Like how the hell would they even get down here? Like there's no way they're surviving going over these massive waterfalls, and there's no way people are stocking them down here, because there's no way anyone is walking down here with buckets of fish to put them in the water to swim around. But then obviously the old guy at the tackle store was right, and there was lots of trout down there. And I guess that sort of just kicked off. I think that was the trip that sort of really kicked off my love for trout, and especially around like the New England. And yeah, so that's where the book sort of starts, and then I sort of cover. And obviously this all kicked off before I think my mate Jason had his P's and I didn't yet. Like I didn't get my P's for another like 6 months from that first trip. And then it was all about, like getting my P's, getting independent, getting out on a trout stream, finding trout close to the Tamworth, like within half an hour drive, and like, not really caring about what you were doing for work, just it was all about just like, I need enough money to fund my newfound addiction for trout fishing. It's like, I'm just going to get out there as often as I can. It's like waking up at like 5 a.m. to drive up the road, fish for a couple of hours, and get home, shower, and be back at work at the bookshop by like 10:30 a.m. in the morning. Like just the stuff like young guys do. And obviously, and then within the story, it's obviously got a bit how I met my wife Sarah, and then getting her into trout fishing and taking her to the trout farm first because I'm like, this would be a surefire way that she can catch trout. And it ended up being like the most coldest, wettest, miserable day of the year. But it was the only option we had because it was closed season. So I'm like, I wanted to catch one, and luckily she did catch one. And then, then getting out open season and testing a newfound skills on the river, and her catching some wild river trout, which was pretty cool. And then it obviously leads into becoming like, getting married, starting a family, what then fishing looks like once you have kids, and you're standing there on the edge of the river holding a kid in one arm, you just one hand roll casting a fly to the head of the one pool. You're not walking like 5Ks up a river, like covering as much ground possible anymore. It's just like you're slowly working these deeper holes of water that you used to just always skim past, and then covers a bit about that. Get obviously like a quick few changes, career changes through there, finishing apprenticeship, going into the uni thing, getting stressed out by the uni thing, fly fishing obviously being an escape for it, and then obviously leads into getting pumped with that drought, and then just like that almost despair feeling of, oh man, like what are we going to do here? But then also bringing it back at the end with, like a lot of this stuff's like cyclical, like it goes around in cycles. And then obviously after that big drought, then there was like this, it got dumped with like the best rain we'd had in years, like everything's spraying back to life. They reckon that I saw something actually in the latest Fly Life magazine that I only picked up this week. There was an article in there that said, I think fisheries research indicates that the seasons from 2020 to 2023, like when after that drought broke, were the best fishing in over 30 years for New South Wales trout. Wow. So, and it was like, and this is sort of where the book leads as well, because I also like in all the COVID matters, I resigned from my old survey job and took up this job with a civil construction company surveying. And one of the jobs I got sent to was like right back where the book started, because the book starts at, the Guy Fawkes River in Ebor, and then obviously the bushfire ripped through there, destroyed a heap of the infrastructure, like the walkways and the lookout platforms and in and around the town. And one of the jobs I got put on was like going up there to do the surveying to reset all these lookout platforms out and like rebuild that sort of area. So like essentially got to live and work alongside this river where it all began for like a good couple of weeks, like right in like where the fishing was absolutely peak. And it hasn't been that good for like, I've never seen fishing that good, and I haven't actually been back up since I was writing the chapters of that book. But that's obviously where the book leads to. And it was around that time, like we had the twins, like we had obviously James, we had not long after we got married, like pretty much a year after we got married, we had James, and that was, fishing with him. And then you obviously go through that drought period, and then like we find out we're having twins, and it's like the drought breaks, like it's all like, it's all this abundance at once. Like, you get blessed with these kids, and then you're like blessed with this really good fishing, and you're sort of tying it all together. And and then the book sort of ends with, it's all about like it starts off with the mission of getting James a trout. Like, he's a bit older now and he can cast a rod for himself. And it's all about like the few little trips we took to try and get him his first trout. And I won't spoil the ending of the book, but yeah, that's what the last chapter's about, and then all tying it back in at the end. So yeah.
Nah, that's awesome, man. The whole time I could see the passion in your face, and everything you were saying I could relate to, because for me it was bow hunting, not so like the fishing for me as well. Like I love redfin fishing, before work,
Yeah.
after work, I'd go chase redfin. That's all I'd do. And yeah, it's you saying about you didn't care what the job was as long as you had enough money to fund it. As long as I could buy arrows and lures and have time to go fishing before work and after work, that's what I was doing. I'd drive past a new river and go try and catch redfin in there, or that looks good, and go try and redfin there, or drive past a dam and go door knock and be like, hey, do you have fish in your dam? Can I go see if you got fish in your dam? And that's exactly what I'd do. And then it's like leads from fishing spots to hunting spots, and yeah, it's funny how, like, even though it's different aspects, like your fly fishing and hunting, rod and reel and chasing redfin, and yeah, it just all ties in so well and can relate. And then moving on to having kids and getting married and how it slows down. And for me, it's not a drought. For me, it was the bow hunting ban last year. So I'm going through those stages now with it.
Yeah, that's hard. And yeah, I will also say, like I say, the book's like a fly fishing memoir type. It's like that's sort of the genre of it, and that's because that's eventually where it leads to. But like a lot of the first part of the book, like I guess it's my journey from progressing how I got so into fly fishing, because it obviously starts off with I'm out in the yard practicing casting with a fly rod, but I'm not confident with it. I've caught like a carp before on it, and I've caught one trout on it when I was down in Tassie after like getting a half day's guided shoot-ition sort of thing. And right as the guy left, I hooked a rainbow trout as the guide was packing up for the day pretty much. So I wasn't like, I had no confidence in my own ability with a fly rod. And so even when Jason like came to pick me up to go up to Ebor to chase trout, like I left the fly rod home and I only took the spin gear, and it was that's what sort of the book covers. It's like it's going from this, like I'm not confident, I'm taking the spin rod out, then it's like, okay, I'm going to take the fly rod and see if I find the right opportunity to use it today. And then eventually, like, it just sort of leads into, you end up getting sort of dragged into that world and tying your own flies, and then you eventually never look back, and then you pick up a spin rod and it feels all funny and you're not even sure how to catch fish with a lure anymore. But yeah.
See, that's what I'm scared of with fly fishing and spear fishing. I've already got bow hunting, I've got rifle hunting, I've got, your normal fishing, your bow fishing. I'm too scared to pick up a fly rod and spear gear, because I could just see my spare time just that I have none of anyway, having wife and kids kids that do sport, and we got soccer training twice a week and then games on weekends, so it's hard enough getting out as it is, let alone trying to balance kayak fishing and bow fishing and all of that. I'm way too scared to start fly.
And I guess that's we're probably in that similar phase of life. Like you work, I don't know what your work's like, but I work big hours through the week. Like, you go on essentially 12 hours of the day. By the time you get to work and you work and you drive back home, it's like 12 hours of your day is gone. So you try and spend some quality time with your family before dinner, and give them their prayers, brush their teeth, send them to bed. And then it's like, try write. Like, obviously writing, like, you're trying to write for a little bit and your eyes are like falling out of your head, like you're so tired and you're just trying to get stuff done. And and then the weekend rolls around and you've got Saturday. It's like you quickly catch up on some housework, like do some laundry, and then you're like, you sort of really got to pick it. You're like, do we want to go for a forage? Do we want to go for a fish? Do your kids just want to go for a swim at the beach? What are you after? And then Sundays, like we're Catholic, we go to mass every Sunday morning. And then maybe we might go for a fish or something Sunday afternoon as well. But I just find that time is the one resource I don't have as much as I'd like of in the days anymore. But I can definitely say I'm getting the most out of my 24. Sleep goes down the list of priorities, I think, when you're obsessed with some of this stuff, as you and I both are. But hey, I wouldn't change my life for anything. It's Yeah, love it.
Yeah, it's funny this weekend. Like today I woke at about 6, but yesterday I slept until 7:30, and that's a big sleep in for me.
Yeah,
I just got access through a friend to a new property that's three hours away, and it's got a few species of deer on it, and I've finally ticked off my first rooster, which I was pretty happy with. But
oh,
did
cheering.
yeah, did three trips down there, and it was up 2 a.m. in the morning to get down Tears by 5 to get out to the spot, by first light, and then I was getting home by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's just like trying to balance the work life, and then it's like get home, unpack, spend time with the kids, the wife, cook dinner, and then go do a podcast on a Sunday night. So I was getting up at 2 a.m. doing all of that. And it's like you're fitting, a weekend's worth of activities in 12 hours. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like for me, this podcast is equivalent to my book. And it's just like, I have to set a couple of hours aside every week or two, or if I want to get in front so I can do more stuff in the weekends afterwards. It's just like you have to get a few episodes ahead, even though I do this fortnightly. Like I'd be screwed if I did this weekly. It's so hard to do them fortnightly. Like not many things you get to spend 2 hours chatting to someone about, all of this stuff, and it's just it's I love doing it, but it's just getting that time to do it. And it's lucky doing it with someone from Australia. Like I've done a couple episodes recently with people from overseas, and it's just so hard getting that 17, 18 hour time zone different.
Yeah. One of you has got to get up early or stay up late, and it's yeah. And I get it's good, it's good you mentioned that, like like this is and I guess everyone's got that, I guess, that creative pursuit they want to do inside of them, and obviously yours is the podcasting. Like I've listened to your podcast on and off over the years, and
thank you.
Whenever I see an episode that piques my interest, I definitely drop in and have a listen. And and obviously your passion for it comes through, and you wouldn't still be doing it if you weren't passionate about it. Because I've toyed with the idea on and off over the years about starting a podcast, and I obviously always decide against it because I know enough people that do them, and I know how much time and effort goes into it. I know it would ultimately just be a distraction from essentially my writing, which I know is what I really should be, like, outside of my family and everything else. It's like the writing is really what I should be working on, and so that's what I'm focusing on at the moment, and obviously trying to get outside and live my best life outdoors, so I actually have some stuff to write about into the future.
No, that's awesome. I'm definitely going to get the book and give it a read. I'm not much of a reader. I more take all my info in audio form. So, but I'll definitely get a copy and knuckle down and try and read it. I couldn't tell you the last time I read a book. I've read bits and pieces of recipe books, but
I'm like, don't get me wrong, I was probably the same up until, trying to think when it was. Now, it might have been around, I think it was around time like James was born, like, because obviously you're spending a heap more time at home, like newborn baby. And then I think I remember coming across like a book in the cupboard, and it had a deer on the front of it. It was a fiction book. I think it was Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, like a pretty famous sort of fantasy book. And I remember seeing it had like a deer on the cover of it. I'm like, oh, I don't know what this is. And it had come from my sister-in-law, Beck, and she'd lent it to Sarah to have a read of. And I was like, just going to flick through this, and it's like, oh yeah, that was pretty cool. And I think I just made a point of, not like, I'm not a big, like, I know people, like, they would pick up a book like mine and they would read it in 2 hours and they would be done. And I'm not that quick. Even when I was like proofreading my own book, I think it took me a week each time I went back through for a proofread. And that was like, I would send it to my Kindle, which is where I read the fastest, rather than on paper, like on the e-reader. And I would sit there and I would go through and I'd read and I'd highlight stuff that needed to be fixed up. And each time I did that, I think it took me a week to get through. And I'm just not that quick reader, but I've just made a point of reading, say, just read for like don't put any things on it, like not like I'm going to read this many chapters or pages per day or this many books per year. It's a matter of I go, I'm going to try and read 5 pages a day. It doesn't even matter if it's the same book. If like that book's not interested in me, I'll just grab another one off the shelf, read 5 pages of it. Maybe I'll come back to the other one. Maybe I won't. And it's one of those things. It's like that slow and steady wins the race, you know. And then you look back at the end of the year and you go, actually, I think I checked because I keep track of the books I read on an app called Goodreads. And I think I set a goal at the start of the year, like read 12 books for the year and say, you know, one per month. I'm like, they're only sort of shorter books, I'm reading like 5-10 pages a day. Maybe I'll get through that many. I think I looked the other day, I'm like 18 books in this year while writing my own one. I'm like, oh, getting a bit better. And it's not that I don't think I'm a quick reader by any means. It's just that I'm consistent enough with it. Like I'll get home and I'll pick up the book and read a couple of pages and put it down and walk away. And yeah.
Yeah, maybe I should do that. That's
the other people. Yeah.
I reckon that's going to be my goal for 2026. Try and read 5 or 6 books.
Yeah, I think honestly, even if you just went like, my goal is to read a book for the year. Like, because I think a lot of people go like the last time, like you said, like a lot of people go, the last book they read was in high school when they were like forced to read it essentially. And then you're so burnt out from that experience, you never want to pick up a book again because the book they got you to read was some trash you're never, ever going to pick up again. Didn't interest you in the slightest, you know. And I think there's a lot of good books written out there, and it's like you can find books written about, you know, whatever subject you're interested in. And I'm even discovering authors now that, you know, they're talking about hunting in New Zealand and all these other things. Like I think it's his name, Peter Ryan, I think. He's written a book recently called Riding the Echo Down. It's like a bit of hunting history from all around the world, I think. But he's a New Zealand-based author, and like that book looks great. I'm going to pick it up and have a bit of a read. And yeah, I think in the age of, you know, your TikTok and your Instagram reels and everything's very high stimulus, quick, cheap dopamine. I think it's important to just try and rewire your brain a bit to be able to focus on just plain text and, you know, sit there and dedicate some time to reading. Yeah.
See, I've got this little SAS book, like, that it's been all around the place with me, like hunting, camping, and that's probably the only book that I read. But it's like reading pages here and there, and it's like when I'm in hunting camp, like when I was in New Zealand, it's like, you know, you got no phone signal, so you can't scroll through Instagram and shit. So I'm there reading, you know, traps and, you know, foraging stuff and poisonous stuff, and it's just this little tiny SAS handbook, you know, and it's beaten and battered. But that's been to Texas, Mexico, New Zealand twice, a bunch of different states here. But
yeah,
you know,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good fun. But yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, the only books I've read recently are picture books, and that's not because of my kids. That's just because I can't read. But but yeah. I reckon that's going to be a goal of mine next year, you know, because, you know, I've got you with your new book, and then I know that Kai's is releasing a new book, and an episode or two ago that I recorded, he's an American author that's just released a couple of books which are on my list to get as well. So I need to start doing it.
Yeah.
So as much as I hate reading, it seems to be coming towards me, like telling me to read some more stuff.
Yeah, and even there's a guy on Instagram, Rob, and his tag is the Venison Diplomat. I don't know if you've come across him before or not.
Just brought out a kid's book.
He's got a kid's picture book. I actually did deal with him. Like, hey, I remember you like fly fishing back in the day. Let's do a trade. You know, you send me a picture book for my kids, I'll send you a copy of my book to read. And yeah, so we sent each other copies, and like I got the kids book, and like my kids love it. Hey, like I got twin girls, and they're 6 now, and like I read that to them, and they're like so fascinated by anything, and they're pointing at all the pictures of the deer, and they're like, oh, what's this? And you know, and yeah, and Emma was even like guessing ahead. And it's like there's a part of the book where, you know, like the hunter, she's letting out a croak for a deer, and then Emma's like, "Is that so the deer comes closer to her?" I'm like, bingo,
That's
you've got
awesome.
it, like you get it. And like, yeah, it was really well written and like pretty engaging for the kids. And even to the point where I read that to them, I think that was on like a Wednesday or when did I get the book? Yeah, Wednesday. And I think first afternoon I come home from work, I'm sitting there and Claire goes, "Hey Dad, can you read the deer hunting book to me again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Like, I'd
That's
love to
another
read
one
this
on
to
my
you.
list to get.
I'd
If
love to indoctrinate my kids into loving hunting. Like, that's great."
if you haven't heard of it, do you know Eureka Outdoors by any chance?
I've definitely heard of it.
Yeah, so they used to be
Right.
Eureka Tactical. Now they're Eureka Outdoors. They do some awesome posters for like with some great artwork from Mel Gray. So like they've got the 6 Australian deer species, or they've just released a small game one. But they've got a really great activity kids hunting book. So it's got like a bunch of puzzles and stuff in there, some firearm safety, and just a bunch of cool activities to introduce to the kids. So that's a really good one if your kids getting into that
Yeah.
stuff, and
I've, I've just given him a follow now. I'm like, yeah.
it's got some really great artwork. He was bouncing it off me while he was getting it through, and again, Mel Gray, she's done all the illustrations in it, and it's just such a cool little book as well. I don't want
Yeah,
my kid
sweet.
to draw in my copy because it's too cool. But yeah, that's definitely a good one to get. But yeah, there's just so much cool stuff coming out in the Australian hunting media space. It's awesome to see.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And there's yeah, it's funny, even at the same time I was like right pretty much at the end of my first draft, and I like checked my phone at one point and I had an email from this fly shop. I'm obviously subscribed to their newsletters, and they had this book in it. It's like this book, and it's about fatherhood, life, fly fishing. And I'm like just reading the blurb of it, and I'm like, oh man, this guy has written like such a similar theme book to what I've written. It's not even funny, but his name's Hamish Brooks, and his book's called Upstream and a Dream. I remember I actually reached out to him, super nice guy, and I sort of was like, hey, like I'm just finishing off a draft of my first book. It's on a really similar topic to yours. I don't want you to think I've like copied you, but yeah, I just thought it was pretty cool that these two people, like he's down in the Otways, Victoria, like I'm up like North New South Wales. It's like we've both written these sort of similar theme books, and we're both releasing in the same year without even having met each other. It's just like
That's
it's
cool.
crazy, like the undercurrents that sort of connect people. And yeah, seems to definitely be a resurgence in hunting and fishing literature, especially, and maybe like I guess maybe Meat Eater and Stephen Ranella and the likes have had a pretty heavy hand in that, because obviously he's been writing some books for a while, and like I've read a couple of those. They're great. Like American Buffalo was a fantastic book, and as was the Scavenger's Guide, the Hohnke Cuisine. I don't know if you've ever read or heard
I,
that
I
book,
I
but
know it. I've heard the audio version.
yeah, it's like it was pretty cool. Like shooting all these random things and trying to prepare like this massive feast of wild game. And yeah, it was very interesting. But yeah, I guess maybe that's led to probably maybe that's not the only cause. Like there's obviously a lot more to it than that, but there's definitely been, I feel like there's definitely been a resurgence in literature around hunting and fishing lately. And it's exciting. It's probably what the world needs, I think, just to get more back in that, out of the 15-second quick dopamine hit reels, and actually publish some content with a bit of heart and soul behind it. So yeah.
Definitely. But yeah, like I said, I'm definitely keen to check out your book, and yeah, the spices, the double shot. That sounds awesome. I'm going to be trying that one too. So I've got a freezer
Yeah.
full of venison I need to burn through, otherwise before I shoot another deer. Otherwise, I'll get in trouble for not for having no space in the freezer. Pretty lucky position at the moment. We got Rusa, Samba, Fallow, and Red in there at the moment, so got a good variety.
Yeah, well, that's so cool. Yeah.
And then yeah, a bunch of rabbits. So that's a new property that we got access to. I've struggled to get onto rabbit properties for ages, but this property has no shortage of rabbits. We went out and got about 40, and
Yeah,
that's
well,
just
no,
the
that's
that's just the good ones that we kept. The other, not the gut shot ones or the myxomatosis ones, and
yeah.
you know, but yeah, it was so good. So I've got the Ranella cookbooks down there. I've got some good rabbit recipes I want to be trying for the kids as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
cooking, like we said earlier, is a major part for it. Speaking of cooking, what's your favorite thing to cook with? Hunted, caught, forage food. Like, what's your go-to meal?
Man, I it's hard. Like I love so much of it, and I've learned how to cook like nearly all the cuts of like venison right. Like whether it's I do really love probably yeah like it's probably the one I can like obviously win a lot of people over with. I love getting like venison backstrap, and obviously what do you it's not yeah it's probably I like to season it in the double shot. I like to cook it, not cut up like whole essentially, but cut like pan length. So you can cover it in a double shot, brown it off in the pan, whack it in the oven at like, it's usually around 180 degrees for about 12, 13 minutes or so. And you end up with like this perfect medium rare. Like to cut that into strips, put that on a bed of like loosely mashed potato and peas with a bit of butter in there, and put the like backstrap on top, and then you fry rosemary. Like so, like get fresh rosemary and you fry it in a little bit of oil, and it turns like crunchy, but like it's not as intense in flavor. Like it's still got that rosemary flavor, and you put that on as like a bit of a garnish, and it's like this little crunchy, like burst of flavor with it all. Like I can hand that to nearly anyone in the family, and they'll be an instant game meat convert eating that dish. Like I won over the in-laws with that dish. Like we got them down. I'm like try this out, and I'm like, oh wow, that's like really good. And but then I also love venison shoulders, great as well. Same double shot rub. Yeah. I've one of them. I've actually you probably find it on my YouTube channel. Like I haven't uploaded anything there for a few years now, but there was one on there. It's like cooking venison like pizza. And I smoked like a venison shoulder, pulled it all apart, and we made a fresh pizza and cooked it up. Like that was pretty cool as well.
That sounds so
and
good.
Yeah, and other than that, like just can't go wrong with like a bit of venison shoulder in the slow cooker all day as well. Like just real homey, pretty simple, but real tender meat that falls apart at the end of the day.
Yeah, we do a few of them at work when I want to get rid of, because my family's not massive into eating a venison shoulder. They like the prime cuts, which is fine with me. But so I'll take shoulders quite often to work, and we'll cook them up in the Weber at work, and end up doing like pulled venison, sandwiches for everyone, and it's so good. It's such an underrated cut.
Yeah, and then also love like our go-to meal over summer is hopefully like fresh caught fish, and then we do like fish tacos with a mango salsa. Oh. So it's so you get like a mango, a red onion, some Roma tomatoes, some lime juice, and a bit of coriander, and you mix all that up together, and you lightly heat your tortillas in a pan. Then you either grill your fish fresh with a bit of Salt Bay on it, or we like panko crumbing it, but we sort of do a thing where we coat all the fish meat in that Salt Bay seasoning, dunk it in an egg wash, and some panko crumbs, and fry it in coconut oil. Okay. We find it's the best. Like it's nice, and it's got a high flash point, like it's heat stable, like you can cook at those higher temps, and it's like these really like nice, perfect golden brown like chunks of fish, and kids like always asking for that meal, and it's so hard because you can pretty much only make it over summer, like when mangoes are in season, because otherwise the salsa is just not the same. Like you could try and use the frozen mango. Like I think I did that once because the kids were like desperate through winter, like they really wanted this meal, and we had some fish, and so I made it with like the frozen mango, but it just wasn't as good. Like you can't beat that in season mango stuff. So yeah, that's probably like our go-to seafood meal at the moment. And
damn, that sounds so good. You're gonna have to send me the recipe for that one.
Yeah, I definitely will. Probably, I might even like, because a lot of people have been asking about it now. So I'll probably like nail down like exactly what you need and show people what you need in a bit more detail, like
Recipe
rather than being a
book.
bit vague about it. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do want to. It's funny because I sort of started to work on a recipe book a few years ago, and then I think I got like a few recipes in, and just sort of put it on the back burner. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I will revive it one day for sure.
Do it.
Yeah,
Have you seen
yeah.
Mayor's game book, Wild Meat?
I have seen it, and I've been meaning to get a copy. So the
It's
minute I
it's
see one, I'm
worth.
probably gonna have to. I was sort of hoping I'd come across it in like a shop, like a hunting shop or something eventually,
Uh,
and grab a copy there. But
QBD might do it. I think.
oh
From
really?
them, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
I'll yeah, got a couple of QBDs near me at the moment, so I might pop in and see what they got.
just don't mind me. I'm just googling it because I'm pretty. Yeah, yep. QBD you can get it from. So
Yeah,
definitely,
sweet.
definitely check that one out. And they do the Steven Ranella meat eater ones as well. So
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Sweet. I don't think I'd even had a look in the cookbook section of that. I just assumed they'd be, like most mainstream shops and not have anything super cool in there.
no, they do. Like surprisingly, that's the only shop I go to when I go to the recipe sections, like the cookbook sections.
Yeah,
So.
nice. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, also on my website, I've also got a book, 99 Spiro recipes. I don't know if you've come across that one, but
I've
honestly,
seen
it's
it.
probably the most underrated seafood cookbook ever. And it's not. I know a lot of people have probably got their hands on a copy of what is it like the Whole Fish or Fish Butchery by Josh Nyland, and it's obviously like that's really upper echelon. Like this is like a really elite restaurant in Sydney. This guy, and he's running on a different level to your average Joe. Whereas this book is literally written by Spiros and Fishers for Spiros and Fishers. So it's all like the whole idea of the book is like a recipe that you can pretty much prepare or cook with like 30 minutes of time. Like it's those days where you come back from the boat ramp or come back from a dive or a fish and you bug it, but you want to eat fresh fish that night. You're like, crack open this book, find a quick recipe, make it. Yeah, I think I've got 6 recipes in there from memory
Oh,
that
beautiful.
I submitted like back when we were like doing it. So that's obviously why I sell it like through my online shop as well. But yeah, it's like $50 and it's called 99 Spiro recipes. I think there's actually 157 recipes in there. But it's not just recipes, like there's a whole like there's guides to say curing fish, there's guides to smoking fish, there's guides to cooking like sushi rice properly. There's all these like sort of foundational skills because it's like you find with like those whole fish cookbooks by Josh Niles, like here's this really like fancy cut of meat, but there's obviously like a few first steps that a ladder skill are sort of missing. Like it doesn't cater for your average Joe coming out of the water with a fish he barely knows how to cut up. There's obviously a bit of assumed knowledge in there, whereas this book's like really down to earth, like really good recipes as well. So
No, awesome.
yeah.
You're sending me broke. I'm gonna have a shopping list by the end
So
of
mate,
this.
I'll send you a discount code because you've been good.
Sounds good to me. But yeah, no, I was looking at that one on your website earlier when I was going through and refreshing what you have on there. So that's awesome. I've held you long enough now. We're over 2 hours in, so we'll jump to the last big question that I have. What is hunting, fishing, the outdoors to you?
Mate, it's a life well lived. It's I find I love being outside in essentially creation and just like marveling at like everything around. And I love being a part of the process, not merely observing it. Like I can never understand how people like sometimes there was a spot I used to fish and it was in a national park and we're obviously chasing cod and we're hiking up the river and we've got fly rods and stuff in hand, like chase Murray cottonfly, and you see like these people, come out of the walking track, and they've just got, a trekking pole and a Kathmandu jacket and a backpack on and a round hat on, and they're just walking. I'm I love being outside, but I couldn't imagine not being involved. Like I couldn't imagine merely being an observer outside. Like
I need a purpose.
I don't understand I don't need. Yeah, I feel like I need a purpose. Well, maybe it's not like I need a purpose, but I know it's my purpose. Like when I get in and when I'm catching a fish or hunting a deer or a goat or pig or rabbit or finding mushrooms or diving in the ocean and pulling out abalone and fish and all this other stuff, it's like I see a lot of people view the world as we're like somehow we're like humans are the introduced species to the world, but it's not that way at all. Like the world is like we're meant to be a part of the world. We're meant to be a part of the food chain. And people think that, you can, we just need to pull ourselves out and get in the cities and, it's like an us and them thing. And you only have to see it in the comments section of anything that's happened in the last week. Like take that tragic shark attack that happened up the coast. I can guarantee every one of those news articles I'll open up and there'll be a comment that says, what do you expect? You're in that shark's domain. We don't belong there, blah, 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 blah. But, it's heartless and lacks any humanity at all. And two, it's like, no, we do belong there. Like we do belong in nature. We do belong in the forest. We do have the right to hunt game. We do have the right to find mushrooms. It's, I guess it just depends on your worldview. But, I'm definitely the fact that we're not intruders here, where this world is created for us, and we're the custodians of it, and we need to look after it by all means, but we definitely don't need to remove ourselves from it, and removing ourselves from it isn't going to benefit from it, because the world's always existed in one way with our influence in it. So that's what the outdoors is to me. It is, the outdoors is us, like, and that's what we're all about at Hohnke Outdoors, is live your best life outdoors, whether that's hunting, fishing, foraging. And then obviously away from that, it's like, I like writing books, and it's like, so when the weather's bad or, you're stuck at home, you can read a book and you're immersed back outside. Like it's like feeling you're there without being there.
Nah, look,
that's my take on it.
That's an awesome take on it, and I definitely get what you're saying there. Like, when I'm I'm inside, I'm at home, I'm winding down, I'm going back through failed stalks, hunts that I've stuffed up. I'm laying in bed, and it might be a deer from I unfortunately lost a really nice rooster stag a couple of weeks ago. Shot him twice, and he disappeared onto the neighbor's property, and I was kicking myself about it. And like leading up to the next hunt, I was going through every single possible scenario, just in, out, dreaming. Like the night before we went, not the night of, but the night before, all I dreamt about was rooster deer that night. Like I think I went through maybe 12, 15 different scenarios in my dreams about what could have happened in 2 days' time. And my mate's like, how do you remember all of that? I'm just like, that's all I think about.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. Yeah.
But I really appreciate you coming on. It's been an awesome chat, and I'm glad we waited till now when you've gotten this book out. And timing was good. Thanks for having me on. Like you said, I think the timing worked out perfect. Like I managed to, I know you went to do this a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, it feels better now. The book's actually in my hands. I've got copies going out to shops. They're online on the website. You can grab an ebook on any ebook platform there is, I'm pretty sure. I think that's how it's set up. So
yeah, it's all out there. It's all ready to read. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting some feedback on it from the greater audience. You know, I've only ever had, I think at this point, as far as I know, the lady I got to edit the book is the only person that's read it from, you know, start to finish. And she's not a Fisher person at all. She lives in Sydney. And even she was like, you've got a good book here. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I think that's good to get like that non-outdoorsy person's feedback and them have a read through, not even as a fly fisher or a trout fisherman at all, and go through and go, yeah, you've got a good story here. Excited to see it released, sort of thing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it's received by, I guess, the actual fishing and hunting communities that do give it a read. So yeah,
that's awesome. This will be in about 4 weeks, so just before Christmas this episode will come out. So yeah, I'm keen to give it a read, and I'll yeah, like I said, Payday, I'll be putting in my order for it, and hopefully you get lots of interest in it, and yeah, I'm sure everything else will be a good hit too. That will all go. You need to put a bundle together on your website where it's like the 3 spices, the book, the cards, and just do a group bundle.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'll work on something, and hopefully by the time this airs, it'll be on there, and people won't even know that there wasn't a time where there wasn't a bundle on. So
yeah, I'll just take that out the end of the podcast for you. Yeah. Nah, easy, mate. Where can people find you? What's the website? What's your social media?
Yes. So website is Hohnke Outdoors. It's HOHNKE outdoors.com. I'm on there. You can contact me on there. I'm on Insta, Facebook, and TikTok. Don't check the TikTok as much, but I am on there. I've been posting a little bit more stuff on there with the book because I think in general there seems to be a lot more booky people on TikTok. Like book talk's a big trending hashtag, you know, like put a few things up there about the book and they've been pretty well received over on TikTok, funnily enough. So it's probably leading to a bit of a resurgence on that platform. But yeah, it's just Hohnke Outdoors on all of those platforms. And I'm also on there, like my personal page is like ben.hohnke on Insta as well. Like, yeah, feel free to message me on there as well. It's all good. Yeah, if you get the book and read it, tag me in and let me know what you think. And yeah.
No, awesome. No, I really appreciate you coming on, and I won't take up any more of your time. But yeah, thank you very much. Have a great night.
Yeah, no. Thanks, Ace, mate.
All good. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Hunting Connection Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed our discussions and gained valuable insights into the world of hunting, fishing, and the outdoors. To stay connected with us and never miss out on an update, please be sure to follow us on social media, all at Hunting Connection Podcast. We appreciate your support and would love for you to share the podcast with your friends and family. Don't forget to tag us in your hunting photos on social media and let us know about your experiences. Your feedback is invaluable to us, so please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Together, we continue growing and delivering more captivating episodes for all hunting enthusiasts. Stay connected, stay informed, and keep pursuing your passion for the hunt. Until next time, happy hunting.